Hello, my good friends. Mike Shreeve here, founder and head troublemaker of the No Pants Project. You are listening to episode 16 of the No Pants Show. We're going to be talking about the most simple, free way to get clients that I've ever seen in the 10 years of being a full-time freelancer and getting clients on my own. I will say the key word here is simple, not easy. It's going to require a significant amount of discipline. It's going to require a tremendous amount of repetitive work over long hours. This is not a system that gets clients quickly, and it's not a system that is very easy to measure, meaning it's difficult to know what is and isn't working, which means you have a significant amount of unnecessary work. This is a very hard system to 80-20. I would, to be completely honest with you, say most people listening to this podcast probably shouldn't do this method, just in how there are so many better methods to getting clients. That said, I'm putting this out there for those of you who just need something, who are just looking for a way to get clients. And above all, even those who don't implement this process, there's a lot of good lessons in the mechanics behind why this works that you can take to anything, including the cold outreach that we teach, including list building, including any of the things I've ever taught ever. The basic mechanics are still contained in this very simple client getting process. So it's still worth listening to, even if you're not going to use it for yourself. That said, just keep in mind, if you're already engaged in a process that's better than this, don't hop, skip, and jump to this just because it seems easy. As you'll see very soon, simple doesn't always necessarily mean easy. All right, so here it is. It takes 3 steps, very, very simple. Step number 1 is you need to get ready to be seen. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting a lot of eyeballs on our stuff. And so in order for us to be able to do that, we need to make sure that we're all properly set up. This method works best if you have a really good offer and your message is very tight. So we've talked about this a couple times on the podcast, but essentially you need to have something that people really, really want, and you need to be already fairly good at communicating exactly what it is that you do, who you do it for, and why you're different than everybody else. That's the first thing that you need. You also need to take that same offer and that same messaging and prepare all of your social media profiles, so your Twitter and your LinkedIn and your Facebook and your everything, because people are going to start searching for you and looking for you and lurking you and watching you and figuring out what you're all about online. So you need to have that all set up properly. So that would include, on your LinkedIn profile, making sure that you have the appropriate description of what it is that you do, who you do it for, how people can get in contact with you. So step 1 is just get ready to be seen. Shouldn't take more than a day. Keep it as simple as possible. And you only need free social media accounts to make it happen. Number 2, so if we're already getting ready to be seen, number 2 is for us to go get seen. The way that we do this, and this is where the difficulty comes in terms of it's easy to do, or it's simple to do, but it's not easy to do because it requires a tremendous amount of repetition, is we are going to sign into any one of those accounts, and within the platform itself, we are going to spend several hours per day commenting on content of other people. So, for example, if we're on Facebook, we're going to join a Facebook group and we're just going to sit in the Facebook groups and comment. We're going to find other people who are posting content on their Facebook pages, their business pages, or their personal pages if we're friends with them. And we're going to comment on those pages. If we're on LinkedIn, we're going to go to LinkedIn, find content on LinkedIn, comment on it. If we just want to comment on blog posts on the internet, just make sure that when you're commenting on blog posts that you have that you're able to sign in, because what you want is you want to be able to have a link back. And we'll talk about that here in a second, why we're doing this. If you're on Twitter, commenting on Twitter, responding and replying to comments and posts and content. Instagram's another one. Comment all over the place on Instagram. Lots of opportunity there. The idea, here's why this process works, and yes, it will require several hours a day, and we'll talk about that why as well. What you're essentially doing is making yourself seen by people. So, let's break that down, and let's break down some of the psychology, and then what you can expect in terms of results. If you show up in a Facebook group and you're commenting on almost all of the posts, if not all the posts, let's say that you're a photographer, there's a group of people who are into photography, and you are commenting and commenting and commenting and commenting, people can't ignore you. You will become a known entity. When you become a known entity, meaning when people keep seeing you pop up and they keep liking what you're saying and you're commenting smart things and you're saying interesting things and you're contributing to the conversation and you're being nice to people and you're getting in the middle of the conversations, people will want to find out more about you. So, for example, on Facebook, they might click your Facebook profile. Obviously, this isn't going to work if your Facebook profile settings are set to private. So if you want to use this method, probably best to either set your Facebook profile to where people can see things about you, or just don't use Facebook, right? Because the premise of this process is that you become known and then people lurk you. But it's okay, you don't need to use Facebook. You could go to Instagram. You have an Instagram profile. Guess what's on your Instagram profile? You can link back to a website that maybe that's one of the things you got set up. Very, very simple 1-2 page website. Or maybe it links back to your LinkedIn account. That's okay too. You don't even have to have a website. Your quote unquote web page or your landing page, quote unquote, could be LinkedIn. Or, of course, you could just go to LinkedIn, where all the professionals are anyways, and you just spend a lot of time commenting and interacting there. But the point is, you get seen by being everywhere all the time, and people start to say, oh, it's that guy again. Who is this guy? I need to go check him out. And then you lead them back to step 3, something to show. So, if they go back to your LinkedIn profile, or they go back to your Facebook profile, or they go back to Twitter, or they go back to Instagram, you need to have something for them to see that allows them to learn more about you, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to lurk and find out more about what you are, who you are, what do you do, who do you do it for, and how do you help people. Check out the podcast episode, 21 Ways to Create Content Every Single Day. So it's going to be a mix of commenting every day and creating content every day. But what will eventually happen is that through this very simple 3-step process, so get ready to be seen, get seen, and then have something to show, people are going to come to you. Now, there's a couple things let me break down within this process, give you some tips and tricks, and then I want to talk a little bit about what do you do if you don't want to comment for several hours a day, and how do these 3 steps translate into basically every client getting type or process, every client getting strategy that really has been invented and ever will be invented. So first things first, obviously, this is not a terribly effective way of growing your business because, number one, you don't control anything, meaning Just because you comment on something, you don't know who's going to see it. You don't know if your comment's going to get buried. You don't know if that thread might die literally 10 seconds after you comment it and you miss the sort of the buzz about it. What you say has to be so interesting and engaging that somebody's willing to click through to find out more about you, which means by definition, you're going to waste a lot of creative energy commenting on things and trying to be interesting and trying to get attention. I would not recommend using this method as a way to build an email list, because if you consider how many comments could you possibly make in a single day, let's say you could do 30 good comments in an hour. It takes you 2 minutes to write a really good responsive comment and takes time to find things to comment on. After probably about an actual solid hour of commenting, maybe an hour and a half, you'll be completely burnt out. But you know what? The thing about that is you only got maybe 45 comments out into the internet. And definitely comment sections are read, but most people read the blog or the content itself, and then maybe a smaller portion of them will read the comments. A smaller portion of those people reading the comments will notice your comment above all the other comments. An even smaller portion of that will be so impressed by your comment that they'll want to lurk you. A smaller portion than that will actually lurk you and then sift through your stuff. So you can see in terms of the volume or exposure or attention you can get, it's not a tremendous volume as compared to, say, a Facebook ad, which costs you $20, $30 to get in front of 1,000 people. And the same 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 minute, however long it took you to comment, you could write a Facebook ad and put it in front of 1,000 people for $20, $30. So again, efficiency is not what's built into this, but let me talk a little bit about why this process works so that you can understand every client getting mechanism and process that you ever do moving forward, whether you start with this and try something else or you just go straight to trying something else. Because here's the reality of this 3-step system that I just gave you. I've talked some bad things about it, right? Of why it's not the greatest method ever, why there's way more efficient methods. But the reality is that this works. It does work. It's not predictable, so it probably is not going to work tomorrow. But if you were to actually sit and consistently do it over and 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 over again, over time, people would see you all over the place, and eventually you would have enough of a volume of people lurking you that you would have fairly consistent streams of prospects coming to you if you continue to also create your daily content. Now, the thing about it, and sort of a little side note, is some of those comments, if you comment on the right stuff, will also stay not necessarily completely evergreen, in that, what we mean by evergreen is that it's permanently on the internet and will always generate you leads forever and ever. A lot of the comments you make will just disappear into the ether of the internet, right? The internet's so big, there's so much new information being added every single minute, every single second, that most of the comments you make will be there for a little bit. You might get a little bit of attention and then it'll go away. Some comments, however, if you comment on the right stuff, will be up for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, and then maybe some will be up for longer, which can generate you leads, right? When I very, very first started my freelancing career, this was one of the methods that I used. I still have people reaching out to me from a comment I made 6 or 7 years ago on a piece of content that had no idea. I could not have predicted that it would still be around. And I also didn't know that particular comment that I made, which was just me trying to add as much to the conversation as possible, would last this long as well. But this method works because think about what you're doing. Take the technology and the platforms and the media type out of the equation and think through what are the mechanisms at play here. Mechanism number one, where we say get ready to be seen, is preparing your presentation, which is another way of saying thinking through the best way to communicate what it is that you do. What's step one? Step two, get seen, specifically by commenting on content. Another way to think about that is taking part in conversations that are going on and are on topic with a general interest group. Okay, so one way to think about this is you get your presentation ready, you're preparing for what you're going to say, how you're going to say it. Step two, you go to the party or the networking event or the speaker thing, the conference, the seminar, the business meeting. This process works because the same thing that people have been doing in business for more than 100 years, it's just on the internet now. So you're going to this meeting, you're going to this seminar, you're going to this networking event, you're taking part in conversations that are centered around the specific interest group for the event that you are at, whether it's the meeting or the conference or the whatever you're doing, networking event, and you're taking part in the conversation. What this process allows you to do is two things that the traditional way of this client getting process doesn't allow you to do. The first is step three. Step three is after you go to the networking event, because this doesn't actually happen in real life, but because we can do step three on the internet, it would be like going to the networking event, having this incredible conversation with someone online, incredible conversation at the event, and everybody's really jiving with each other. They think you're smart. You like talking to them, or there's somebody who overheard the conversation you were having. What this online version allows you to do then is when you go home, that person gets like a full-blown pamphlet or a full-blown, if you're doing content every day, like mini training course or a book worth of blog posts or whatever, that they can sit down and be like, I remember that person from the networking event. Now let me see all the other stuff they have to say. So this is like networking times 10 because of the third step, which includes the daily content. Remember, step one, get ready to be seen. Step two, get seen. Step three, have something to show when people lurk you. But then the second thing that the internet allows us to do to make this old way of getting clients, which 99% of client getting in the olden times was literally just networking with people, right? What the internet allows us to do now, on top of being able to send people home with a bunch of stuff, aka letting them lurk you in, when you're not around and see a bunch of other stuff that you have, is it allows us to scale the conversations. So one of the problems with a networking event is you go to the networking event, there might be 25, 35, 45 people there, and because you are only one person and you can't warp time and, go through the wormhole and be in two places at once, you can only talk to those 35, 45 people. And when the networking event is over, you can't talk to them anymore because they're all at home and you're at home. Unless you were to call them, but then again, it's only one-on-one. What the comment process allows you to do, however, is as long as you're willing to put in the effort, comment as many times as you want, which is to say, have as many conversations as you want every single day. And like I said before, some of those conversations will stay present, meaning that conversation you had 2 weeks ago on that thread, people can still see it happening by reading the comment. So they themselves can join in the conversation even though you are no longer there with your time and attention being focused on that particular thread. So this is why I'm saying this is the most simple way to get clients I've ever seen. Because before I discovered this, my answer would have been, well, just go to a networking event. Go to meetup.com, find an event, be nervous, be socially awkward, be scared of talking to people, but go anyways, because that's about as simple as it gets. What I'm saying is from the comfort of your own home, hiding behind your laptop, you can actually perform a more effective version of that same process. Now, if you understand that these are the moves being made in a simple but not terribly efficient method, now we can take these same central ideas and extrapolate them to the other methods that at least I recommend. So cold outreach directly, whether that's on LinkedIn or email, depending where you live in the world, or purchasing advertising, getting people's attention through paid ads like Facebook on just a couple dollars a day, and having that attention brought into an email list where you distribute content regularly. You can see it's the same exact mechanisms. Prepare to be seen, get seen, and have something to show. Those three core mechanisms for turning a stranger into a client will never change. When virtual reality becomes the way that we work through the internet, meaning when we're no longer looking at a flat screen on a computer, when it becomes more audio-based, like think about Alexa, how you can interact with Alexa and there's no screen at all. When we get to a more AI-based, deeper algorithms, more predictive reaction from the interface that we're interacting with, when all of that changes, it's still going to be get ready to be seen, get seen, and have something to show. That will always be the method for getting a client, no matter what happens to the technology that is guaranteed to evolve and change. The good news for you and me, in that we want to continue to make our livelihood this way and not just do it for a year and then have to go back to the job, a job. We want to, if you're going to start a freelance business, you might as well start it and then never go back, right? That's the way I think of it. And we constantly want to get better, have better clients, better pay, etc. The good news for you and me is that technology makes those three things easier and easier the better that it gets. I've made 16 podcast episodes with zero audio equipment other than my phone. and a free app and another free app. I can't wait for the future. It's going to make my job so much easier. Not even 5 years ago, you couldn't make a podcast without really expensive microphones, really expensive software, have to pay monthly for all this and etc. So the good news is technology will always make things easier for us. My recommendation to you, though, is to never forget the 3 core mechanisms for getting a client into your business. So review one more time of this simple process so that you can do it, or you can start to see those 3 core mechanisms in whatever process you are using now, no matter how advanced it may be, so that you have a deeper understanding of exactly what it is that you are doing when you're doing it. Step 1, get ready to be seen. Get your offer messaging right. Get your profile set up. Be prepared for people to lurk you. Step number 2, get seen. Just comment on everything. Be everywhere as often as you possibly can so that people notice you. They say, oh, it's that person again. Oh, here they are again. I noticed them again. That frequency, you'll notice that one of the main themes of the things I teach about is frequency. Frequency cannot be overestimated. Frequency can make up for a lot of bad implementation if you just continue to show up again and again and again and again. Our brains are wired to view frequency as a value. Think about the friend who always shows up to help versus the friend who shows up meh or is inconsistent. It's seen as a value, a trait that is worthy of praise. So get seen, be everywhere, be consistent, be frequent. Step number 3, have something to show so that the people who do end up lurking you can find out more information. They can fall in love with you. I don't mean romantically, but platonically. They can become your fan. They can be interested in following you. They can be interested. I like what this person has to say that aligns with me. Check out the episode 21 Ways to Create Daily Content of this podcast for more information on how to create that. And that's it. Now, once you understand those are the 3 core tenets of making this process work, then it's just a process of becoming more efficient at accomplishing those 3 things. If you're part of the No Pants Project, we provide the most efficient process, which is Facebook ads to email list to daily content distribution through email. If you'd like help to set something like that up, just go to nopantsproject.com/video will allow you to apply directly. I want to make sure that this episode comes across appropriately in that I want you to strip away the romanticism and fear and complexity of what it takes to get a client. This might be the path for you right now, just to get in the rhythm of what it takes to turn a stranger into a client. Maybe you aren't ready yet to get complicated. That's fine. I'm not saying anything bad about people who implement this process. But what I am saying is the 3 core elements of what turn a stranger into a client, they won't change. And there are a lot of ways to become very efficient at those 3 things. If you'd like help, I can help you through the No Pants Project. If not, I recommend getting out there and start commenting, getting seen, be everywhere, contribute to the conversation, and eventually what will happen is someone will send you an email if you make it obvious how to email you, right? This is in preparing your getting ready to be seen, make it easy for people to contact you. And they'll say, hey, I've noticed this thing about you. What kind of stuff can you do for me? Are you for hire right now? And etc. Okay, my dear friends, that's it for me from the No Pants Show. This has been episode 16, the most simple, free way to get clients ever invented. Hope it was helpful, and I'll see you tomorrow.